Good day, everybody. Obviously, it's not the pregame show, but it is the weekly roundtable here with Damen, Marco, and I, recapping this perfect week that we had, right? 3 wins in 3 games. But we wanted to start this show with a little message for our veterans, right? It was Remembrance Day 2 days ago. So, Marco, I know you would like to say a little something.
Yeah, I mean, obviously on November 11th, we had our Remembrance Day. So today on the show, us at the Habs tonight team just wanted to celebrate a little belated celebration for Remembrance Day and just to thank everyone who has served our country in the past, our veterans, and everyone who is currently serving our great country. So yeah, we just want to give a little honor to those people there for their bravery and for their selflessness and their sacrifices, and lest we forget.
Mm-hmm. Well said, now, Marco. So we're going to get into our big roundtable right now. And also, this is a big thing to start off with. I did not expect this, but we entered the perfect week so far this season. I want to know how you guys feel about going on this week 3-3. And we started off with a big game in Detroit. The defensive game there. We won. Mm-hmm. Vancouver. It's Vancouver, so of course we won. And then Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
of course, one of the most intense games and most entertaining games all season. I want to get your guys' thoughts on the games this week.
Yeah, I mean, Connor Bedard seems like a dream right now. We're not looking to be in the bottom 5 or even bottom 10 teams this season right now, if the tendency continues. But man, we're getting good hockey. You can't really complain. Obviously, perfect week is always a good thing. But in our situation where we are right now, it's like, okay, we're good, but we're not good enough to make the playoffs, and we're certainly not good enough to make a playoff push. So it's like bittersweet, right? You're getting good hockey. The guys are producing. The young guys are showing off here. But again, is it really like the timing is a bit off,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not sure what kind of rebuild or tanking situation we would be 100% going into this season, but I feel like the majority of people kind of had the impression that this would be sort of a tank for Bedard season, that we would just be absolutely shameful. I mean, at least most people, I think. But the way that it's going right now, I mean, a lot of the acquisitions that we made, of course, one of the most notable ones we'll get more into later, Kirby Dach on draft day, that massive trade that we did over there. I mean, you could tell now with the direction that we're going that this rebuild is going to look something more like what the New York Rangers went through, kind of like a 1 or 2 years where you guys are kind of like, like a little subpar compared to other teams, but then you're going to rebuild relatively quickly. And now look at the Rangers now in the position they're in. I think it's safe to say that they're a powerhouse in the league as it stands. And the way that things are going, if our current assets and, the acquisitions and changes that we made in the organization live up to their potential, I could see us following a similar sort of path. Obviously, there's a big talent discrepancy when it comes between like us and the Rangers, but I still see us following a similar sort of path. Obviously, we had a lot of good hockey going on this week too. Perfect 3-for-3, especially yesterday, the win in overtime, which I was lucky enough to experience at the Bell Center and hear the roars in the crowd. Big overtime win. Another return for Jeff Petrie, who did score on us. So I guess that's karma for us talking a little bit bad about him, poking fun at him when he helped us win the last time against Pittsburgh, also in overtime. But yeah, regardless, the boys fought really hard this week. A lot of great positives to talk about, which we'll get forward with throughout the duration of the show. Mm-hmm. But yeah, obviously 3-for-3, you can't ask for much more perfect scenes on the score sheet. And obviously we're in a good position right now in the standings. We're tied for 3rd with 12 points in the Atlantic as it stands. Whether or not that's going to stay like that the rest of the season, probably not. But again, we'll see what the future holds for the group. If they could continue playing like this, I don't know, they might surprise a few people. You never know. Well, what do you think about the perfect week, Damen?
I agree. I remember the perfect. I remember going back to something Nick Suzuki said at the beginning of the season and something you just said. Nick Suzuki did say going into the season that he was expecting the Habs to be a team that could surprise a lot of people, and he's been proving everyone right now. Now, I remember it was brought up in the broadcast yesterday that it was until it was the 33rd game we played last season where we finally got our 7th win under Dom Ducharme.
Oh my god.
Bring back some PTSD. I apologize for that, but it kind of needs to be brought up. Ouch. How good of a coach Marty's been this year.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
And
No doubt.
now, like, we have to talk about that top line, because one thing I want to touch on with this top line is how good they've been. Nick Suzuki has 19 points in 15 games, and currently he's on pace for 103 points this season. His previous best was 60.1 points last season in 82 games, and he's always staying healthy. Nick Suzuki, he's getting himself a bit of an Ironman streak. Cole Caufield, over a point per game as well, and Kirby Dach, he's getting it's only 15 games, and he's getting really close to beating his career total high in points, which is 26 points. So I want your thoughts on this top line, because I'm really loving it, Shayne.
Mm-hmm. Damon, I know you're loving it because you have both Suzuki and Caufield on your fantasy team, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah, Damon, you want to make a few
team
trades with us? Wink, wink.
That's it.
I like where I am. I may be 7th in the league, but I like they're carrying the team on the back.
Yeah, no, that top line is something special, man. Like we've been trying so hard to find that one winger to pair with Cole and Nick. We've tried Hoffman, okay, worked a little bit. We've tried Anderson, we've tried Monahan, we've tried just about everybody, but we hadn't tried Kirby yet. And then since we put him on, it's been nothing but heat. Those three guys have such good chemistry, and the fact that they're all so young. I mean, Nick Suzuki's 23, right? Cole and Kirby are both 21. So we're going to have these guys playing on our top line for many, many years. I mean, as a Habs fan, you can't ask for more. When's the last time we had a first line as solid as this? The last first line, the true first line I remember was Tatar, Dadonov, Gallagher. And, let's be honest, that's not much of a first line. So this is unprecedented for the past few years in Montreal.
Yeah, that was the perfect second line, in my opinion, for a playoff run. But I think now I think this is my lifetime. I can confidently say this is the best first line I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah,
agreed. Yeah, I mean, what these guys are showing on the ice is unlike anything we've seen, especially the quick start to the season. How efficient they've been with the points just in the first start of the season. I absolutely cannot wait to see what these guys could produce season long. But I think the most important part, which is something that the Habs have really struggled with in recent memory, is finding good chemistry with people, especially last season with all the juggling that was done in the team. It was hard to find that trio that could really produce consistently. Obviously, you had Suzuki and Caufield season long, but like you said, Shayne, we had to find that third piece to kind of pair with those guys to really make some magic happen. And oh boy, we've been seeing some magic on the ice so far, boys. It's really, really, really refreshing to see as Habs fans that we have the confidence every single night going into the season now that these three will produce no matter what. And so good to see Kirby Dach finally getting utilized too, because obviously in 2019, this guy was a big talent to come when he was drafted. Obviously, Chicago couldn't really give him the support that he needed to really excel, but we took the chance on him. We saw the potential, and this is exactly what the Chicago Blackhawks saw in him when they drafted him. Just sucks that, they weren't really able to utilize him like we currently are now. A quick little stat to kind of compare him for the rest of the draft class, because I saw a stat and I thought it was interesting. For 2019 part of the season, Cole Caufield leads with 9 goals, 16 points to start this season. Just to compare that with Jack Hughes, the first overall pick, who has really been having a good season too, but he has 5 goals and 15 points. So 11 goals and points in Caufield. And number 3, who else but our boy Kirby Dach with 4 goals and 14 points. I mean, I think that's pretty darn impressive, especially considering Cole was picked 15th. Thanks again, Philly. We never forget that too. Lest we forget the Philadelphia Flyers, right? But yeah. Anyways, no, I just wanted to bring up that stat. Even Trevor Zegras too, another guy who's behind Kirby Dach when it comes to those stats. But yeah, I mean, dividends are really paying off so far to start the season, and with the trio that we have now, it just shows a lot of great things to come in the future. And everybody here, I'm sure, is just super excited to see what these guys could do with a full season. We can't ask for a better start as it is. So
that's it. Another masterclass trade from none other than Kent the Magician Hughes, right? Like every move that he's made so far, you can't single out a bad move, like really. And the Kirby Dach trade was phenomenal. So to get a 21-year-old center who can play wing, he's 6'4". The dude can play, right? So shout out Kent, man. Again, what a shocker.
And if we need to, he could also play center because that's his natural position. But he is very versatile that we are playing him on the wing with the talents of Suzuki and Caufield, obviously. But obviously, if need be, let's say injuries come about, he could be a very good second line center. You know, I think he could really hold the fort there too, which is one of the biggest assets when it comes to Kirby Dach's game, that he could play basically anywhere needed.
Exactly. Boys, we got to talk about a certain Mike Hoffman. We've everyone's been kind of on this guy for being absent. Basically, he hasn't been doing a whole lot since the beginning of the season. But these last 3 games, he has 4 goals, and you know he's been working hard. Like, it's not just reflecting on the point sheet. Like, if you watch the game, you will see that Mike Hoffman is more involved. Turning the puck less. You know, he's finishing his checks and making good passes, which he's been struggling with. So, boys, Mike Hoffman, what can we get for him if he's still a trade piece, which he will likely be come trade deadline? Like, what kind of return could we be expecting?
When it comes to trading Mike Hoffman, this is a difficult one because he's one of those players who doesn't have a very team-friendly contract and we're still in a flat cap area. Please, no one forget that. We're still in that era. And my hope is if Kent trades him, Kent can find a way. It doesn't matter how much we get for him, but if we can find a way to move out that contract without retaining salary, so we can sign Caufield next year, we can sign Kirby eventually in the future, we can sign more of our youngsters as well, and eventually give Slav a big contract in the future because he's getting better and better. So Hoffman is someone that is playing really good hockey right now. And also, I wonder, and I want your guys' opinion on this. I want to know if you think Pitlick being placed on waivers and clearing is something that gave him the scare and it made him realize, yeah, I have to play better and I have to be more responsible defensively.
I mean, I definitely think when it comes to our quote unquote expendable players, I think Mike Hoffman is definitely on that list along with Yoel Armia. So I think when Pitlick was the one to go on waivers, luckily he cleared and he'll be able to help out the Laval Rocket, which I'm going to be trying to. Damen, I see you looking out for Yoel Armia over there with the binoculars. Yeah, I mean, we're looking for him too. But anyways, like I was saying, I'm going to be trying to go to some Laval games to see Rem Pitlick. I think he'll be a great fit for that. No one claimed him because I did really enjoy what he was doing with the Habs. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that kind of scared Hoffman a little bit too because his game hasn't really been proving anything. And you know, I think you could definitely consider that as expendable play. So, I mean, he definitely took that into action, scoring 4 goals this week. Who would have, if you would have put, I wonder what the odds were on that. If you were like, let's say to place a bet on that, you would have had a huge payout. I'm sure of it. And, you know, like we have been giving him a bit of stick, you know, like on this show, as we normally do. We did apologize on our last post game that we did, Damen, because he did score 2 goals in that game and he's kept on scoring. So we're going to have to keep on praising Mike Hoffman. So we want to turn our L's into losses and say thank you for your performance. Definitely greatly appreciated, Mike. Hopefully you guys could keep it up. But yeah, what do you think about it, Shayne?
Yeah, I mean, like, again, you don't expect a 30-goal season from Mike Hoffman. He's past that part of his career, but still he's there to make to score goals, right? He's supposed to be your power play specialist. He's supposed to get you that important goal, and he's done that these past 3 games. So you can't really ask for more. He's involved. I like his game right now, and hopefully come trade deadline, there's a team that would like to have him. You know, it's not that we want to get rid of him. It's just that the value could be good considering where we are as a team. But another guy that I mean, what can we say about this dude, right? 11 games, 0 points. He has done nothing. Really, again, it wasn't, you know, a trade that, okay, we had high hopes in him. We traded Weber, who's basically retired, for him, right? It's just a salary cap, you know, IR move, whatever. But still, he is a veteran. He is, you know, supposed to score at least 20 goals a season, and he's not doing like anything. He's just a ghost on the ice.
Free skate for him, I guess. It's free skating time. He's getting paid $5 million. Like, that's the way I see it right now. I can tell you this. I'm gonna admit I did have some high hopes because he did play well for Vegas that previous season.
Exactly.
But now I just don't understand. I just don't understand what's going on with him. Like I don't want to offend the players because they're definitely much better than we are. Believe me, if I tried skating, I probably would fall instantly. But I just haven't been able to find the guy like where he was, where he left off in Vegas and where he is now in Montreal. I don't know if the fit's not good. It's just a very difficult situation, and I hope for both like his sake and the Habs' sake, he can play well again and we can move him at the deadline for something good. But I don't really know like what's gonna happen right now. I wonder if if we're gonna might place him on waivers or something. But I want your thoughts, Marco.
I mean, I think Dadonov now is definitely somebody who we can add to the expendable list. I'm not sure what our expectations were for him this season, but it's definitely a whole lot more than 0 points in 11 games. I could tell you that. I mean, especially considering, like you said, Shayne, he's a veteran. He's there to help out your team, especially in those, bottom six sort of lines to kind of produce and give him some much needed goal support when needed. So far, he's just been, like you said, Damen on the banner. He's been Casper on the ice. Just been basically a very profitable cardio session for him. But I mean,
yeah,
we hope that he could obviously help out our bottom lines. That's first and foremost. But also, I mean, if you don't produce, how are you supposed to get anything in some sort of trade for him? I mean, right now, the way Mike Hoffman is playing, hopefully he keeps that up. He could maybe go for a second round pick. But with Dadonov, which I guess you could kind of say would be his value, like not taking into account obviously his play so far, but now, I mean, if he doesn't step it up, we're just going to have to be eating salary on him, which obviously it's not good for our cap. Like you said, Damon, we do want to eventually give Slavkovsky a contract that he deserves and, help out Cole too. So, I mean, yeah, hopefully Dadonov could work on his game a little bit and provide us with an asset. Let's say we do want to trade him or whatever the case may be, or if he continues to be good and it's better for him to help out our bottom lines, even better.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few guys on the team that, have been mentioned in trade talks. You got the usual suspects, right? Drouin, Hoffman, and Dadonov, but there's been other names like Damen, you mentioned Armia, and as well, Sean Monahan, who's been fantastic, right? Thank you, Calgary. Yeah. I mean, we'll gladly take on that first round pick and Sean Monahan for another Kent Hughes masterclass. But yeah, Sean Monahan could be interesting for certain teams in a playoff push, right? He could slot right in that second or third line center spot. So would he be a trade piece for you guys, or do you want to sign him back for next year?
Yeah, I would say probably a trade piece, because also I have a report right here on my phone. I'm just going to pull it up and read it quickly. So the report is that the Avalanche are the team that's apparently interested, according to Pierre LeBrun. These are his words. The Sean Monahan could be another forward that the Colorado Avalanche could look at. And the Avalanche have a long list of forwards they're looking at, potentially bringing back Ryan O'Reilly, bringing his career full circle. They're also looking at Bo Horvat and potentially Jonathan Taves. But if we retain half that salary, I think I'm going to just pull up the numbers here and see how much he's making. About 6.3 million. So that brings that number just above 300. So that's actually absolutely doable for the Avalanche. And also it's the consensus, according to Chris Johnson and those insiders, that we'll get another first round pick for him. So, but I want your thoughts as well, Marco. If you think it could be a first round pick and even more that comes our way for trading Sean Monahan.
I mean, first and foremost, I think we need to take a look at our team and our center depth, which to start the season was a little thin. I think if you were to deal either Hoffman or let's say Dvorak, if teams are still interested in him, I think Dach might have no choice but to slide into at center. But I mean, considering the way he's playing with Suzuki and Caufield, I think he's much better on the wing right now. I mean, I definitely think you could get some good value with Monahan, at least maybe a first round pick. I mean, especially considering the way he's been helping out the Habs in his play, I feel like it really does reflect that sort of value. And a lot of playoff teams could definitely need him. I remember you saying, Damon, that was it true that the Sens were also potentially interested in Dvorak with obviously the long-term injury for Josh Norris? Maybe he's someone who could help them out. So let's say you do trade Christian Dvorak. I feel like you have no choice but to keep Monahan. And I mean, if things are going good, like it's like the old expression goes, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if we see that, our lines are getting some really good chemistry and production going, and Monahan is a big reason for that, I mean, we don't necessarily have a need to trade him in that case. Obviously, it depends on what teams are willing to offer. Like, I'm sure Kent Hughes is going to be willing to listen to. And if it's like something in the lines of first round pick and more, kind of like what we got for Ben Sherratt, for example, then I definitely think it's worth listening. But at the same time, I think the most important thing is to look at your team, see how they're playing. And if you don't feel like there's a need to change it, or if you're not getting good enough return for sacrificing that production, then you don't go for it. But that's just my thoughts on it. What do you think, Shayne?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, it's too soon to tell, right? We're still only in November, so trade deadline is far away. Anything can change by then. But one thing's for sure, though, Sean Monahan has been a pleasant surprise. We took him on as cap, right? We took on his salary to help Calgary, and turns out he's a damn good player. So we win, and I guess Calgary kind of wins, but not really. Anyways. That's all I care about. But I mean, this week we have to talk about this too. We have become the new goon squad, right? 2 suspensions, essentially in the same week. Josh Anderson obviously just crushing Alex Pietrangelo in the boards, and then Slavkovsky doing the exact same thing on Matt Luff of the Detroit Red Wings, like a game after. So. First of all, do you guys think that was the right call to give them both 2 games, or should they deserve more or less?
I I said this before, but I think it was the right call for both of them, because you can't, because when it comes to players across the board, it's a very dangerous spot on the ice to hit them. And we know about the result with Alex Pietrangelo. Thankfully, he's fine and okay. But Matt Luff, I think surgery out for 8 to 10 weeks. Now that's going to be a long time. But it's a rookie mistake for Slav. And I trust he'll learn from it. But Josh Anderson, I think, as a veteran of the game, 27 or 28 years old, he's someone who's been in the league for quite a bit of time now. He should know better, in my opinion. But that's the way I see it. How do you see it, Marco?
Yeah, I mean, looking at these hits, and the suspension that these boys got, you would think that they were watching, what was that movie called with Doug Glatt, the Goon? Oh, it was literally called Goon. I was going to say, what's that Goon hockey movie? It's literally called Goon. I'm sure they took a page out of that book or Slapshot, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you said, Damen. Josh Anderson, I feel like you would expect more from him, considering he's been in the game a little bit longer. And where that hit was sort of placed on Pietrangelo, I don't know, kind of gave me like Max Pacioretty PTSD a little bit. Something could have maybe happened that could have been a lot worse for Pietrangelo. Thankfully, he's okay. I definitely think 2 games was the right call, especially for Slav too. I feel like that could have arguably been a little bit more dangerous, considering like the player was defenseless against the boards. You hit him low and he went head first into the boards. Like you said, he's probably going to miss 8 to 10 weeks now. Very dangerous hit. I feel like 2 games was the sort of minimum given those circumstances. Could have been maybe 3, 4, who knows? But I mean, he is a rookie, he's new to the game. I feel like that's why the 2-game suspension was also brought into play, because he has a clean record. Obviously, he's only been in the league for like, what is it, 10, 11 games maybe? Anyways, so I definitely think that 2 games was the right call. Hopefully he does learn from that mistake. And yeah, like, who would have thought? I feel like we've always been the one to receive those kind of punishments, not really the team to dish it out. I mean, I feel like our biggest kind of quote unquote goons in the past have been like Anderson and Galley. Now you have Arbor Jacki, the scary. He keeps on being a menace on the ice. So, I mean, I feel like that could give our team also the confidence that they need, that someone will step up. Worst case, something happens. And yeah, I'm very, very happy with his play too. He keeps on doing better and better with us. I feel like he's really grown accustomed to the team and to the NHL. And yeah, I mean, considering this guy was just in Costco last year, I mean, we took a chance on him and it's proving very, very well. What do you think about the suspensions and Arbor Jacki, Shayne?
Yeah, I think the suspensions were the right call, right? It's essentially the same situation, just, boarding too hard, right? You had to give that a suspension. And again, if you give them different games, like let's say you give Anderson 2 and you give Slav 4, what are you basing that off of, right? Like maybe injury, like the severity, but again, they're both first-time offenders, like you said, Marco. So the situation was exactly the same. 2 games is the right decision. As for Arbor Jacki, I mean, he's on the power play now, which is not something we would have predicted before the season, but he's doing really well. You know, he's on the second unit, and I think he belongs there and potentially maybe move up to the first. We're really seeing his puck moving skills, right? He's not just a big hitter. He's not just a fighter. This man can actually really play hockey, and he's proving that every game. So glad to see that. But Damen pulled up an interesting fact here. Against the Detroit Red Wings, right? We had 7 penalties, including a major penalty, right? When Anderson, when Slav did his little thing there, but we killed all of them, right? So the penalty kill has been pretty good this season, right? We're at 80.8%, which is best for 12th in the league. So quickly, I mean, we have to shout out Stéphane Robida, who is taking over the PK and the D-core, all of which have been performing really well this season, right?
Yeah, they've been performing really well in that game. There's always saying that your goalie has to be your best penalty killer. Jake Allen has, I'm convinced still to this day, is Carey Price in a mask.
Oof.
Yeah,
either that or he's got like cement in his DNA, just the absolute brick wall that he is.
Yeah, I don't know if they did a TNA transfer. I don't remember what movie that was from, but yeah, Jake Allen has been so good this season. We got to give him another shout out to Jake Allen for how good he's been. And also, there's a stat to prove that Jake Allen is stealing so many more points for us, and and he's been I think probably one of our best players this year. And also Jake Evans has been really good in my opinion as well. He was someone who stood out to me without getting out much on the scoreboard in that game against Detroit by winning faceoffs and blocking a ton of shots. How did you feel about the performance, Marco?
I mean, especially that game against Detroit, I feel like our team was very undisciplined, you know, getting away with a lot of stupid penalties. Luckily, Jake Allen was able to bail the team out. And obviously, because of the work of the penalty kill, like you mentioned, Shayne, which is honestly something that is very relieving to see, especially considering the season we had last year. And we were consistently near the bottom of the league. I think like 30th, 31, 32. We're always around that range when it came to power play and penalty kill. So I think the way things have been going this season with both of those things is definitely a shine of light to what is something that's very much needed in our team. So obviously we hope that the team could keep up the good work on the power play and the penalty kill, especially, but also, you know, they can't be taking those stupid penalties on a nightly basis. And because there's only so much that Jake Allen could do, and God forbid he gets injured, you know, I don't think Sam Montembeault was good, but I don't think he could bail you out like Jake Allen can. So I feel like the team, you know, they need to be a little bit more disciplined, especially with the dangerous hits like we were mentioning before with Josh Anderson and Juraj Slafkovsky. And also, you know, the needless little tripping penalties, you know, there's no really need for him, especially in close games, because that game against Detroit could have gone either way. Luckily, our penalty kill and Jake Allen were solid enough to keep us in the game, but Detroit would have scored on them. You know, it could have been a completely different outcome. We wouldn't have had the perfect week like we're discussing right now. So all we could do is hope that the penalty kill stays consistent like it has been, and that our players avoid stupid penalties, basically.
Yeah, well said. Listen, as we wrap up this perfect week, we have to mention, as you said, Damen here, Jake Allen, right? Jake Allen and Sam Montembeault as well. The tandem has been on fire this season. They've been so good. And Jake Allen just had his first back-to-back wins since May of 2021. So shout out to him. And he's earned it, right? He's played really, really well. But here's my question to you guys, right? You look at a team, let's say, for example, the New York Rangers, who have a clear number one goaltender, right? Let's be honest, Igor Shesterkin is arguably the best goaltender in the league. They, however, do not have a second goaltender, right? Jaroslav Halak is not doing the job. They lost again yesterday with him in net. So would you entertain the idea of potentially trading a Jake Allen to, say, the New York Rangers, who have a young goalie in their system named Dylan Garand, who will be a number one goaltender in the future? Could that work?
Absolutely, I'm up for it. Now, I want to touch on Halak this year. We have to thank Halak for everything he did back in his time in Montreal, of course, that playoff run. And Shayne, of course, as this, you did one of the pregame skates, I remember, and you did the lap around the Bell Center, I remember, when you were younger. So that was pretty cool to know. And also, with Halak's performances this year, I felt it wasn't just in New York where he's dropped form in a sense. Also, I felt last year at the Canucks, his form has really dropped off, and nothing against Halak, he's still a good goaltender, but there's better options for backups and 1-2 tandems in the league right now. And I think Allen, if you can get a good value from him, and also his contract's very team friendly. Allen, he's making at this moment, he has 2.8 million left on this year. Then his next contract is 3.8.
That's pretty good.
So that's going to be very team friendly, and I'm sure New York can absolutely find a way to make it work. So that's the way I see it. And also Dylan Garand, you do not want to get me started. I'll be talking for days about his performance at the World Juniors. If you talk about the Hlinka, maybe not the best tournament to talk about for him, but World Juniors, he was phenomenal. And then what do you think about it, Marco?
Yeah, I mean, not to make this show about, Halak, but obviously we do have to thank him for his time in Montreal. I still remember when I was growing up, all the stop signs are all replaced with Halak signs. There's some good times, good moments, and it's unfortunate, but basically since he's left the Habs, his form has consistently dropped, and he hasn't really found that groove yet, no matter where he went. And the case seems to be there in New York as well. When it comes to the possibility of trading Jake Allen, it doesn't really set well with me, mainly because our future goaltending is very, very uncertain. I mean, obviously Jake Allen has had his injury issues in the past. So far, he's been healthy all season long, basically. But I mean, worst case, there's a bad injury that happens to him. I mean, I'm still not 100% convinced if Montembeault and Primo are the guys to kind of carry the load. I mean, with our team, we do also need a clear number one. Right now, Jake Allen is that guy. And unless we have future plans for him, or if we plan on trading for an undisputed number one, I don't see any way that the Habs could even entertain the idea of trading Jake Allen. I feel like the Rangers are a team who definitely would have a lot of use for him. And I mean, if you have a tandem with Shesterkin and Jake Allen, I feel like that's a Stanley Cup winning team right there, in my opinion. But I personally wouldn't even consider it unless Lafreniere is involved. Like, that's how much I value Jake Allen with the Canadiens. And I mean, it was kind of like I said too, like, unless we have a direct replacement for him or a plan in our goaltending, or, prospects that could come up and take over the load, which right now I'm not 100% convinced on. I personally wouldn't entertain the idea of trading Jake Allen. Obviously, would like to get your thoughts on the comments after, everybody watching this after, once it's uploaded. But yeah, that's where I stand with it. What do you think about the potential idea, Shayne?
Yeah, I mean, Dylan Garand is a guy that I've had my eyes on for a while, knowing that Shesterkin is the number one guy in New York, right? So in my mind, Dylan Garand won't really get a good opportunity to shine in New York, which is, it's a risk to take. You don't know how he's going to pan out, right? But in our situation where, like you said, Marco, our future in goaltending is uncertain, I'm willing to take the risk. I'd entertain the idea of getting him and giving whatever New York wants for him. So that's up to Kent, right? We're not the GMs here, but we're just speculating. We're having fun. Guys, this next week here is another big week. We're playing against the Devils, which are one of the best teams in the league. Did not expect to say that before the season, but they've been on a 9-game win streak. They are first in the Metropolitan Division. And it's also the debut of our reverse retro jerseys, and also the debut of this thing called Metal. Lord. It's our temporary mascot for the reverse retro Knights. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
I tell that whoever's in that operating the mascot, you need to stay away from children at the stadium. You're going to scare a ton of children out of that stadium. This mascot is one of the most horrifying things I've seen since Michael Myers.
Forget about scary. Children.
That mustache is creepy. And Marco, you were saying earlier something about the boots. You were telling me before the show.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, forget about scaring the children. This thing straight up scared me yesterday when I saw him at work. I was absolutely mortified. And yeah, you don't see him in the photo here, but he's also rocking sort of like these Rocky boxing boots, like the very, like, the ones that go above the ankle, the sporty ones. I don't know. It's just kind of like a weird vibe, in my opinion. First of all, he looks like a mix of like a rock star lumberjack with the ginger beard. I mean, I get it's like UP's colors and they want to go with the blue reverse retro, but I don't know. It's giving me like Boyle the Troll vibes of Seattle. I thought I thought that one was the worst in the league. I think this guy has, some competition now looking at him. Like, I'm just confused at the vibe they're going for. Obviously, his name is Metal. You see his little hands going up there with the little rock on signs. He's got the boots. I don't know. It's a big mess. And I'm just confused the direction they want to take. Obviously, UP, it's a big change from UP. UP, is like one of the most friendly mascots in the league. Very, you see him, you want to give him a big hug. This guy, like, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole, if I'm being honest. So I don't know. I'm very confused with this decision, but again, it's not our decisions to make. Maybe it'll be better on opening night when they debuted him on the 15th of November against the Devils. Who knows? But initial thoughts for this, I don't know. Mix of scared and confused. What about you, Shayne?
Yeah, I don't think I'm a big fan. I'll just leave it at that. We'll see, but I much prefer UP. Anyways,
Oh yeah,
boys, we are all wearing our Habs Tonight merch,
yes.
So you can do the same. You watching? We have our very own website where you can get some sick Habs Tonight merch, very comfortable and very reliable. So do yourself a favor and go check that out. As for us, boys, that's it for this week. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Cheers.